Hello and welcome back to Konich-Yeehaw! We are gonna try and do this again because our network overlord forgot to hit record the first time. So, I'm Natalie, and I am joined by Taylor over here. And today we want to talk about shows that are airing right now, currently airing, maybe just finished their season, just kind of discuss what we're watching right now. So, I'll go ahead, go first. The one that I have watched and is finished now uh, is Sunny Boy, which is made by Studio Madhouse. Studio Madhouse, known for things like Hunter x Hunter, first season One Punch Man, and a couple of other anime films. They do a lot of work with Satoshi Kon. Um, so I bring up their work with Satoshi Kon because, in my opinion, the little joke that my boyfriend and I had was that Sunny Boy is a lot like Satoshi Kon's Lord of the Flies. So, Taylor, have you heard about Satoshi Kon? Do you know Satoshi Kon's works?
Not really, no. I probably should know more about him, but I at this moment in time, it eludes me.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Satoshi Kon, pretty influential, just in film in general, mentioned that he greatly influences Western film as well. That I mentioned that before. The first time we did this, that Christopher Nolan's Inception is greatly inspired by his film Paprika, as well as other Western films such as Requiem for a Dream and Black Swan have taken bits and pieces, recreated scenes out of his various movies. Definitely a guy that I would suggest checking out. But I am bringing him up because Satoshi Kon is greatly known for his unique way of bending space and time to tell his stories, and that is what Sunny Boy has done in this anime. So, essentially, the plot of Sunny Boy is that it's a high school. Well, these kids are in their high school, and then they look out one day and it's just black, like pitch black, right? They go outside, they go to the roof, and they see that their school is sinking in this like void space, nothing around. They do a couple of like experiments, to see like what's going on. They get a little rowdy, they break some windows, they eat the food out the vending machines, all that kind of stuff. And they find that after 1 hour, everything resets, everything goes back to normal. And then, of course, because it's anime, they also now all have superpowers. So, of course, but they're like kind of like unique superpowers, not just as simple as like flying and telekinesis and whatever. I think one of the guys' superpowers is actually just that like his word is absolute. So like if he commands you to do something, like you have to do it. Like that's his powers. He can like make you do things. Of course, like they make him do like silly things, like just like run laps around the roof or something, just to test it out. But overall, it's actually a pretty slow story. Not a lot of action, but it's also kind of an abstract story because I think it even loses a bit of its own plot sometimes. Overarching plot, right, is that they're trying to figure out how to get out of the void space, how to return back to Earth in normal space and time, but also how they got there. And along the way, like I said, they're experimenting with their powers. They're trying to figure out this, like the rules of this world that they're in currently, and it's just like it's interesting how they like navigate all that. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
It sounds like it. I'm probably actually going to check that out later. I looked at it originally, and I didn't really know if I wanted to watch it or not. But after that, and the first time you explained it to me, this being the second time, I really think I'm gonna actually have to give it a try and watch it because it sounds pretty cool. Because the whole superpowers thing kind of draws me in every time, especially unique ones like that. But the first anime I want to talk about is Talk to OP Destiny, and it's unique in that it's really based on kind of more traditional like musics. Like it really wants to use like Beethoven and other producers around that time to kind of really help tell the story. So the basis on it is a race of aliens show up on Earth called the Black Stone. And there's no real way to fight them at first, and they're so fed up with like music and stuff, like for some reason that bothers them so much that they just start destroying any kind of musical instrument, any way to produce music, to play music, that just going all over the planet and just destroying everything. But then a corporation kind of takes over, the Symphonic Corporation takes over America and creates these music arts, which are weapons that are basically once were human and now are a weapon to destroy these black stones. So, and the story kicks off actually with the two protagonists showing up in a little small town. The conductor, because every music art has to have a conductor to control their movements and how much energy they use and kind of how they fight the black stone aliens. The conductor shows up in a town where there's a piano that's just sitting there and it's roped off where no one can get to it. He just walks up and starts playing it. And one of these black stones shows up and starts destroying the town. Well, then his music art just comes out of nowhere and he starts conducting it to fight the black stone alien. Losing my train of thought right now. Give him a second. We'll let him cut this because I've already did this once and I'm trying to come up with new stuff.
All right, so yeah, cut a little bit before that. There you go. So I'll jump in. So whenever I saw the cover of this anime, I've seen it around, and especially since there seems to be, I say seems to be, maybe I'm making an overgeneralization here, but this kind of like influx of like Americana kind of anime, right? Like I'm thinking of like I mean the classic one of course is like Cowboy Bebop, right? Like a little bit more of like this Americana aesthetic. But last season we had a Pararan Man, which was the I don't know if you watched that, but it was this like alternative reality of like the world in maybe like the 30s or something, but these two Japanese boys go to America to participate in this like cross country race, like car race, like race cars. They have to like build their own car, and this is like an international huge thing. But anyway, just this like aesthetic of of America, like in Japanese animation. So basically, I saw the cover, right? It's these guys with their car in the desert, and I'm thinking that this looks like an idol anime. I'm not really a huge fan of idol animes. So is it not really that? Like
No, it's definitely, it falls into shonen, and it's definitely kind of got the combat anime style, but it's really the
mhm,
story of the music art and the conductor and how they interact with one another, because they're actually traveling to New York where the Symphonic Corporation is, because she is not a full out music art. The way she was created isn't how the original music arts were created. So anytime she uses any of her abilities, it's draining his life force. So basically, for her to be able to fight the Blackstones, it's killing him. But if
mhm,
he dies, then she dies too. But they're actually traveling with her older sister. So the older sister's really trying to push the drive, like, hey, we need to get this fixed so neither one of
mhm,
you die, because they're basically his only family that he has left, because his dad died when the Blackstones first showed up. His dad
mhm.
was like a major conductor of an actual orchestra at the time. and so when they attacked, they ended up killing the entire orchestra, including his dad. So
Mhm.
a lot of his original time in the show he spends in his garage in a soundproof room, just playing the piano as if he was playing on stage with his dad, and that's really how he connects back to his memories of his dad and everything, and it kind of drives the whole story on why he wants music to come back.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really interesting. I'll definitely have to check it out. I was staying away from it because I thought it was idle. Um, so I'll definitely have to check it out. All right. So the other anime that I am currently watching, they're still airing their episodes, is Komi Can't Communicate, which is just a little high school, romance slice of life from Studio OLM, who have done other things such as like a couple Pokemon movies, and they're also working on Restaurant to Another World right now, which is something else that I'll have to check out eventually. And it's just cute. It's really well made. You can tell that they have pretty good budget behind it. It's got this really, I think it's a pretty distinct art style. There's something very like classic or like retro about it. Like I feel like a lot of older anime, you think of like Dragon Ball Z, like the eyes are even bigger. Like I don't know if that's like hard for some people to imagine, but the eyes are even bigger, guys. So in like the older style, so it does kind of like play into that aesthetic. So the plot is that this girl, Komi, high school girl, she's very beautiful, like instantly popular, like pretty in a pretty humorous way, right? Like she doesn't have to do anything. She's just gonna be the most popular girl in the school for existing because she's so pretty and smart. And everybody like wants to be her. Like everybody wants to be her or be her friend, but they're also like intimidated by her because she's so pretty. Um, and then the irony of the whole situation is that Komi actually has a like communication disorder, so she is really bad at talking to people and like having social interaction. Um, like really bad at it. She gets all jittery and um, something that I think is like really cute is that in the same vein of like me saying like, oh, the eyes are even bigger. Whenever she's like really anxious or nervous, they draw her like without a nose and a mouth, and her eyes are just like half of her face, to show that she's like really like anxious. Doesn't want to like say anything. So um there's this boy. He's kind of like a pretty average guy who gets Komi to open up to him by understanding that she has difficulty talking to people and kind of trying to like be sympathetic, using like the chalkboard or notepads to talk to her, so she doesn't feel too much pressure to like actually say things to him. And he becomes her first friend, and he wants to help her make more friends. But and he thinks that that's going to be easy, but of course, it's never that easy. He's like kind of a loser. Nobody really likes him. And then whenever he talks about like Komi, everybody's like, how can you be friends with Komi? Like she's so much better than you. So it is this like really cute journey of them both kind of like they're both kind of trying to make more friends, even though it's like put as like he's trying to help her make more friends, but they're both kind of making friends along the way, and it's really cute.
Sounds like a pretty good one. It's real. I would say, like probably a little bit of a slice of life one, kind of.
Definitely.
Yeah. Um, Another anime I've recently kind of picked up, new seasonal. It's 3 episodes in right now. Is Platinum End, and
Mhm.
it's really got a the human condition god complex going for it, because you start out the anime with the main protagonist literally jumping to his death. He's trying to commit suicide because he's just fed up with the life he's been given, that he's having to live with his aunt and uncle because his parents died in an accident. Well, before he can even get to the ground, he's saved by an angel. Well, come to find out, the angel ends up telling him that God is dying, and that she was one of the selected 13 angels that has come down to select 13 God candidates. And apparently, the closest you are to God is right before you commit suicide in this anime, which is kind of a different play on suicide, I guess. I don't know if I had to pick that route. So it's kind of a little off-putting in that way. But and then you have the main antagonist in the anime. He's made up his mind that the way he's going to become God is that he'll just kill all the other God candidates off, even though the angels have already decided the way to find the actual next God was to kind of give them the powers of God and monitor them and see how they use them and decide then on which person actually deserves to be the next God. And that's kind of where it's at right now. The main antagonist is kind of trying to lure the rest of the 13 to him so he can go ahead and kill him off as quickly as possible. But you also come to find out that the main character's parents weren't actually killed in a accident. It was actually set up by his aunt and uncle so that they could get all of their money and fortune that they had. And the main character ends up accidentally forcing his aunt to kill herself with the powers that he has.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeesh. So, so is this like how they're like the picking the candidates or whatever? Or how they're like, is it like a fighting anime? So I'm just trying to like imagine it, I guess, a little bit.
It seems like it might have some aspects, but they're mainly seeing how they view humans as a whole and like how they view life, like their moral kind of compass and how they decide that they should use their powers to help other people, or maybe they decide to use them for crime. Because the angel kind of tempts him with that a little bit here and there. She's like, well, you can do whatever you want with it because you can move so fast now that the human eye can't see you. You could steal, rob from a bank or anything. But the main protagonist keeps making, no, I just want to find happiness for myself. And then it kind of leads up into, I want everybody to be happy. It's kind of the stance he's taken so far.
All right. That's cool. Yeah, it's a cool take on that. It's like a reverse Death Note.
Yeah.
All right. So the last one that I wanted to talk about, more in depth at least, was Muroku-chan, which is from Studio Passione. I think it's pronounced Passione. It's passion with an E at the end. And they've done some like I said, they're kind of a newer studio, so they're mostly known for the interspecies reviewers in Higurashi. Higurashi being something that is very old, but they've done the newest iteration of it. So I bring up the interspecies reviewers because it is essentially like it's a fan service show, and it seems that the studio uses fan service pretty heavily in their works, with interspecies reviewers being one where they use so much fan service that Funimation did pull them from streaming. So I wanted to give, just for any of our listeners who maybe don't really know what fan service is, the definition of it from tvtropes.org, which reads, fan service is the use of sex or sexualized situations to entice viewers. It uses sexuality or hints of sex, often in a funny or comedic way, to tease the audience. So the real stress is that it has to be funny, because if it's not funny, then it's porn at that point. Like it has to be timed. It has to be just a hint. It can't be anything explicit. But it is definitely like sexual in nature. So with Muroku-chan, you wouldn't think that it would have fan service just by reading the plot, because it's about a teenage girl who just sees these really nasty, horrific monsters everywhere that she goes. And I'm like, they're nasty. It's a cool design. I love a good monster design. And some of these guys are just so gross. Like but it's cool. I love seeing like every new episode. What different monster she sees. I'm always excited to see what she sees because it's always so interesting to look at. Um, and she's the only one who sees them, and she's trying to pretend like she doesn't see them. Like she doesn't want people to think that she's crazy. Essentially, right? She is just trying to go about her daily life, but then they're like kind of getting in her face sometimes. Her first encounter with the monster was she was at a bus stop, and it's just one who kind of like walks up to her and just keeps asking, "Can you see me? Can you see me?" And it's like getting in her face, like really in her business, and she's trying to like text her like, "Oh man, the bus is really late, huh?" Like, like just trying so hard to ignore this monster. Um, uh, but she can like totally see them. Um, and really where the fan service comes in is that yeah, there's like certain shots or whatever that are pretty like unnecessary. And she does have like the busty, ditzy best friend who is also very much the victim of, oh no, my white t-shirt is all wet. Now what kind of stuff. Um but the plot is definitely still keeping me in. Even now, like in their newest episode, they didn't really have any fan service. Um, and it does seem like the monsters that she's seeing are becoming like more and more personalized to the people who they're haunting, which I think is really interesting. And I'm very curious to see where that is going, like within the show. So, yeah, my discussion question for you, Taylor, is just um, wondering if fan services or ruins an anime show for you or turns you off from it or
It it doesn't really ruin the show as long as it's timed and set up properly. But if
Mhm.
there's some shows, I think I said High School DxD, like I think in our first episode when we talked about it, it kind
Mhm.
of goes a little over the top with it at
Mhm.
certain times. But as long as it's timed properly and it's really set up and you really have that comedic aspect on it, it actually can make a show too at the same time.
Yeah. I know, whenever I think of, like, shows with extreme fan service, I think of, High School of the Dead, um,
Yeah,
which, like, is so over the top, but I don't know, it kinda makes me laugh. It also
like
kinda makes me laugh.
the shooting of the sniper rifle off one girl's chest through the next girl's breast.
Yes, like, it's just so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous, and it's so unnecessary, but it's still kind of funny, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, but I'm glad I'm sticking through with this one, Moroku-chan, because I do think that the more that it goes on, I love a good monster. There seems to be quite a few of them in here, so.
There's there's been some good monster anime lately, like
Mhm,
especially with like Demon Slayer, you Goblin Slayer. There's been several of them that have had some real good like monster esque type creatures too here and there. Like Jujutsu Kaisen not that
mhm,
long ago had
yeah,
really had a good spin on demons.
mhm,
Um the next I think the next one I started getting into it kind of put me off a little bit because here and there it's a little slow, but I do like when the episodes are kind of picked up a little bit. But Tokyo Revengers is another one
mhm,
I've been watching. I know it's a little bit older. I think it's actually I think the first season finished. I'm not 100% on that, but I'm only a couple like maybe halfway through it right now,
mhm,
and it's pretty good, especially with the whole time travel aspect where he actually can go back in time and affect how things have changed in the future.
mhm,
And the whole point of him originally going back was to save a girl that he used to like, and now he's trying to change everything for the better.
mhm.
So it's pretty good. I like the whole premise of it, but it's just sometimes it's slow, but other times it's really good on how they keep the pacing of it going.
Yeah, that's cool. I know I watched the first episode, and it didn't, like it was interesting, but it just didn't really grab me, particularly.
Yeah, there's a few others I've been kind of keeping tabs on. Like, I think I watched a couple episodes of like The World's Finest Assassin. It's not
Mhm,
bad. it's still one of those ones I'm deciding on whether or not I really like it.
Yeah. Let's see. I started watching the Finna Pirate Princess today. So I've only watched one episode. And there's there's something just like so early 2000s about it. It's just kind of nostalgic almost, like the animation style and the acting. It's partnered with Adult Swim, so they're doing same day releasing of dub and sub. So I'm actually watching it in English right now. And yeah, there's just something about like it's just so nostalgic. I don't know, like and the way that it's animated and the way that it's acted. That it's just fun. It's silly. Also, essentially, it's a orphan girl who is trying to like return to being a pirate. Essentially, she's trying to like escape her oppressors, who want to just like use her to like essentially like use her as a prostitute because she's so pretty. She tries to escape them to return to being to go on adventures in the ocean. um, yeah, but it's fun.
Yeah, I was looking at kind of the cover and some of the clips from it. Like, I
Mhm,
do see what you're saying about the art style looking like early 2000s.
mhm,
I think that's what's kind of like I want to watch it, and it's kind of drove me in. So I think
mhm,
I'll eventually end up watching it because I've kind of like that art style of the early 2000s and
mhm,
everything. I think last anime that I really want to talk about is Sumichi Moonlit Fantasy.
mhm.
Kind of funny because Sumichi is moonful, so the title's Moonful Moonlit
Moon
Fantasy.
Moon.
Yeah. And so the premise of that one was you had a kid just living a normal life in the real world. Well, all of a sudden he's ripped from that real world and thrown in front of a goddess. And this goddess she hates him. Just everything about him, from the way he looks, just the way he carries himself, everything about him, she hates him. So she is supposed to be giving blessings to people that come see her, but instead she makes it so that he can only understand monster languages. He can't speak human languages anymore.
Mhm.
And then tries to send him to the new world. But before that can happen, the god of that world grabs him and basically gives him some of his powers to try to help him out because his parents were actually from that new world that he's going to. And the goddess is supposed to be taking the kids from the people that escaped that world originally and making them the new heroes to save the world. But she just couldn't stand him for some reason, even even to the point of calling him ugly and disgusting.
Oh.
But he ends up making the most of it because for some reason he's just super overpowered. He keeps thinking that it's the god's powers on him, but I want to believe it's actually his parents that the abilities that he has come from because they're originally from there. They were heroes from that world.
Hmm. That'll be an interesting twist if that's what it is.
Yeah. So, and it's at season end right now, so I'm waiting on a second season to see where it really
Oh,
takes its
awesome.
turn.
Yeah, that'll be exciting. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up for this episode. I hope y'all had fun talking about or listening to us talk about what we are currently watching, or what's currently airing. We are Konich-Yeehaw from the Last Voice Network. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as Spotify. We post our episodes every Tuesday at 9 a.m. And yeah, hope to see you next time. Yeah.
Yeah.